Daytona for Grand Prix doing it on KA100 Sr this year. Hope the sun shines out, but there's no sunshine.
Who knows, right? The weekend has definitely picked up that night. I mean, a very, very overcast day here in South Warm-Up, and a lot of people have definitely set out. Get to check out a little bit. The wind picked up, but when I walked out, it was a bit higher, and obviously the weather moving in, probably starting an hour earlier. So those of you who are tuned in, wondering why we got up ahead a little bit earlier. Well, we got weather moving into the area, hopefully going to miss us for the main, but it might happen for all the fair down. That's why we'll be timely. We put all forward to try to get out here before the weather really picked up. But the warm-ups have already gone underway. Micro Swift and KA100 Jr. KA100 on the grid right now, Caleb. And we're going ready racing for the main after warm-up. We're just going to go back to back to back. Everyone's starting the main event, which is great. I love to see that. I love to see them go home that early.
Yeah, I mean, again, there was going to be B mains like you mentioned. That was in the schedule as of yesterday afternoon, and then yesterday night they ended up changing it all around to accommodate for the weather that is kind of looming in the area. We are close to the beach. Again, we are expecting some weather to hit the area. KA Senior hitting the racetrack now, and we'll move around, talk to some people down here as well. Alex, first half out on the racetrack now, and we'll talk to the rest of them. And what you saw yesterday, I feel like we saw a lot of good racing. We saw a lot of over records, especially.
How windy it got yesterday as well, with all the dust getting blown onto the racetrack. So again, it all makes it really difficult for these drivers, but they have to deal with it.
Yeah, we'll see how the weekend also pans out for a lot of these guys. I mean, some of them have had good results. Others still looking for that last little bit of setup change that they are needing here this weekend. So we're going to see what we can and where we can and can't go here as we play around. But I mean, it's been, I think, already a pretty good weekend. We'll see if we can talk to some drivers before they hit their session here really quick. Alex, I know you guys are watching the on-track action. We talked to you earlier this week, Ty, I would say on our social media page, posted that interview. How's the weekend gone to you? Just summarize your weekend, I guess, up to this point.
Yeah, it's been good. We were able to get the win in the first heat, so it was pretty good for the points, and I was consistent, had no roll crashes in the first heat. In the second heat, I didn't have quite the pace that I did in the first one, and I also got a penalty, so it set me back a bit, and I got 7th after the penalty. So that wasn't amazing, and then in the last heat, I had a really bad start, fell back to 10th, but the kart was flying, the engine was flying, so I was purple when I was alone with no draft. But I had a little incident which set me back a bit, and then I also got another penalty that sent me back to 13th, I think. So if we didn't have that, we would definitely be in the top 5 and in the fight. So it's going to be a little bit harder for the start of the race, starting 11th, but if we just stay safe on the first few laps, I think I'll be able to get there by the end.
There you go. Best of luck, Ty.
Thank you.
You guys had it from Ty Fisher. Talking to him, Alex, a little bit, and again, he got into it yesterday with a couple of the veteran drivers as well. So we'll see what they can do, Al.
Thank you, Caleb. Well, I got another driver down here who's, again, you're not new to the OTK, but a new team, new colors for you this weekend. Brandon, Mr. Lemke, how's kind of your weekend been so far going into the main event?
Well, we had a really good start. I know we were one of the faster ones, obviously, until later in the day, Thursday. So, but yeah, everything's working pretty good still. Nothing to complain about. Everything's power is great. Chassis is working well. Team's working with me really well too. So, everything's great. Just the racing needs to get cleaned up a little bit, but other than that, everything's good.
You say racing needs to get cleaned up a bit. I mean, is there any way to clean it up around a track like this?
No, I mean, you can use his brakes, so nothing you can really do there.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
You hear it from Brandon Lemke there, a driver that we can expect to see towards the front when this main event gets underway. A little bit later, I guess you could say this morning, a little bit after, I guess 10 o'clock is probably we can expect these KA drivers to go out a little bit before then. So an early start to the day. Hopefully they got some sleep. Hopefully maybe if you stayed up for the F1 race, well, good luck to you this morning.
Yeah, I know I didn't. I for sure got my sleep last night. Hopefully none of the younger kids in Micro and Mini stayed up for that F1 race either, because they have a long race coming their way. 25 laps as well. We heard from a couple of drivers. We talked to Ryan yesterday. We talked about it. I mean, he's also feeling under the weather. We talked about his hands and how, you know, this racetrack is affecting that just a little bit more, but we'll see.
I think Ryan also needs to drink some more water.
Yeah, and he's getting quite old now, 27 years old. I mean, he's you know, almost at 30, just like our very own Xander Clemens.
Oh, I don't think he's that close yet.
We'll see. We'll see for the rest of the drivers. Session on the racetrack.
This is the first of two groups for our KA Senior drivers, but they're all going to hit the racetrack for this main event. It's going to be pretty chaotic out there to see 50 drivers out on one circuit, especially with a tight track like this.
Yeah, right now, Sebastian Garzon, we saw how quick he was. Found himself off the track a couple of times in heat race number 1 and heat race number 2 as well, and in heat 3. Actually, let's talk about the over-under by Sebastian Garzon. You had Gafera around the outside, and then Garzon, I feel like that's, you know, we're talking about F1. That was very like Kruger's Hamilton out at Silverstone a couple of years ago, right? So that was, I think, a very good display in the first sector.
I think the two Orsalon drivers of Sebastian Garzon and Theo Salamao had the two best moves of the day yesterday. We saw the over-under from Garzon. We saw a sweet move in heat number 3 with Alexander Vanchev going defensive in 11, opened up, and then Salamao kind of sold the dummy, so to speak, and just went down the inside of 11. You don't see a lot of moves there that late, that tight into the corner. So awesome move. I know Xander and I were loving it up in the booth. And so, again, shout out to Orsalon for one. They've had an incredible weekend up to this point. One race to go. Let's see if they can, you know, put it together.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get all together. The second half getting set to hit the racetrack now. Sebastian Garzon still quickest. Jose Hernandez, we actually spoke to him yesterday. He said how, you know, all his teammates under Orsalon are fast, but he's a taller driver, and again, his I guess you could say his body mass is a little bigger. So we'll see, and hopefully you guys also can watch that interview with Jose Carlos Hernandez.
We're running in TSRS, and we were P1 all the time. But some weekends are like this. You have to work and put yourself together to pick up the pace, and we're starting to get there.
Talk about the heat races. How did the heat races go for you?
I mean, I'm starting 8th all heat races. It's been quite difficult starting at the outside line, and I managed to get like 7th in both in the first 2 heats, and then in the 3rd one we made some changes, and finally we think we have the pace to fight tomorrow.
Talk about your teammates. Sebastian's been up there all weekend long, right? Salamao's been up there as well. It seems like you guys have it figured out. What's been the struggle point for you, do you feel like, this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, the whole Orsalon tent is fast. We're running in front, everyone's running in the front. I just think for me it's some details. I mean, I'm a bigger size than Sebastian. I make more grip, so we have to take different lines and different things to change in the kart. But we're getting there, and it'll be fun tomorrow.
Thank you. Again, I think you heard it there perfectly, Alex, right? He's a bigger driver than Sebastian Garzon. These kids just moved up, and Jose's in the gym weekly, right? So he makes more grip, like he said. So that's also been one of the hardest parts for him, I feel like, this weekend. But again, he's adapted well, and after the showing he had in morning warm-up, to me, it seems like the pace is definitely there to start off the Sunday main event day.
Yeah, and he's a driver that we know likes to get his elbows out, so even though maybe, like you mentioned, up and down, but so far he was consistent throughout the heats, right? I mean, when you're finishing 7th, the one thing you have to realize in the heat races when they're split up is it's essentially 14th in the heat races, right? So he's going to have to start this main event from a little bit outside the top 10, but we heard from Lemke talk about there really isn't a way to drive super clean around this place to make moves stick. You just got to kind of use up some drivers a little bit. So expect to see some chaos. hopefully it's all clean, but at the end of the day, these drivers are going after it for some hardware, so we know what they are willing to do to to make it happen.
Yeah, we'll see, I guess, what they can do here. In the second group, sitting in the first couple of laps, Alex, and not too much yet. Mini Swift now coming into the grid. So we're down here still working our way around. But again, more drivers working into the scale lines. Garzone, Jose Carlos Hernandez, quickest so far out of the KA groups. Connor Ferris as well, I feel like, Alex, a good showing for him to start this one off. We haven't heard too much from Connor so far this weekend. The 902 has definitely shown good pace here to start off the Sunday.
Yeah, I'd love to get a chance to talk to Connor at some point, maybe before the main event later on this morning, because Connor's, I think, flown under the radar a little bit as a driver that can go out there and contend for the win later today. I know he was up and down throughout the ranks. I know I'm going to keep saying that all day because, again, this KA Senior class it's a bit of a crapshoot, right, where you just kind of just roll the dice and see where you end up at the end of it all. And so a lot of drivers, have a good have a good session, have a bad session, have a mediocre session to their standards, and then it rolls you off. Pretty solid for the main event, and I know a lot of drivers were dealing with that yesterday. So again, this KA Senior class is going to be the one to watch. And just getting a little bit of intel here, and I was starting to notice it out onto the racetrack, where I was wondering why we only had 50 drivers. And that's because the 952 of Alan Isambard, we interviewed him yesterday. I know I mentioned it on the broadcast. He had a rib injury. He was dealing with it throughout the day yesterday. He got it during the Rotax event in Orlando and just never fully recovered, and he's not going to be racing today due to that rib injury.
Yeah, unfortunate for Isambard, right? You talk about the year he had last year in 2024. He won this, I shouldn't say this event, but he won the opening round of the United States Pro Kart Series last year. And for him not to be racing the opening round, we talked to him a little bit yesterday, Alex, and he was telling me that he just wasn't racing today because of that injury that he suffered at Rotax. So unfortunately for him, it's not going to be, I guess, the ideal start to his year.
Yeah, and you might be wondering, how important is having healthy ribs, and it's, to me, one of the roughest, if not the roughest, injury to deal with in karting, because you're constantly using your body, right? And even though it's a racetrack that has a lot more rights than lefts, it doesn't matter which side of the rib injury it is, you're going to be dealing with it. With a high grip racetrack too, you're just leaning on your body so much, and karting's just so physical, right? And so again, having that is very, very tough. Hopefully he'll be able to make it out for the SCUSA Pro Tour in a couple weeks' time and just keep it healed. So I think it's a smart choice for him to maybe just, if he's feeling like it's going to get worse and worse, there's no need to worsen it, and at least let it heal before you go back out there fully. This KA Senior session is getting ready to end for this second group here. Let's see if there's any change at the top. We do have a change. So the first driver to see the 39-second bracket this morning, Enzo Vidmontien, and he's a driver that, again, debut full season in the senior class for SLA karting this weekend. And I know the biggest thing, watching that third and final heat with the SLA crew, he has outright pace, maybe better than the rest of the field from what we saw yesterday, but getting off the line, starting the race, the first 3 laps, it seems like he's not firing off as well as the other guys around him, and that would make sense if what we saw from the X30 drivers like Frankie Mossman is true, right? Maybe the Kart publics take a minute to get going, and then once they get going, they're quick, right? And that could be something that's pretty interesting to watch if you get to these really long main events where maybe they won't fire off the line as well, but as that long race goes on and the kart comes back to them, we might see that crossover point. So that's something to note as well here, Caleb.
Yeah, we've worked our way down on the scale lines here, Alex, as everybody starts to come in. We'll see if we can talk to some drivers after the session, how the track was, how much it's changed since yesterday, and what they're kind of expecting it to do once we do get into main event racing. Here, we'll work our way actually into the scales now. Talk to Caleb. the races yesterday, really get a result. How was the track?
The track was pretty good. I mean, it took a couple laps for us to come in, but then we were sitting there behind Lemke, and it was rolling, but probably need a little bit more. But we'll work on it and figure it out for the final.
And again, any differences or anything you're expecting later on for the main event?
I mean, I'd like it to be a little bit of a split track with a little bit of wet, a little bit of dry, but I guess we'll see what it brings.
There you go. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Interesting, Alex. For Caleb G to want some rain, to want some,
Well,
I guess,
if
differences,
you're
right?
good in the rain, you want it, right? If you're
Yeah.
not, then you don't want it. And so you can tell pretty easily when the rain starts looming in, the drivers that want the rain and who don't, because they're starting to do their little bit of a rain dance, right? So Caleb G's one of those that we know how he likes to get up on the wheel, use those fronts and wheel it. So he's a driver that's always exciting to watch in the rain. We saw him do it at Miami Grands last year. So if it does rain, the 969 is a driver that I think we can expect to see make some moves, make it exciting for us. Let's go a little bit further down the scales here. Let's talk to one of the Mike Doty racing machines, the 947, Christian Miles. Christian, haven't spoke to you too much this weekend, but you've been up there towards the front. So this is the track that you've had success at in the past. What are some of the keys to winning here?
Well, I mean, the track's so tight. So, I mean, if I can get to the front, I'm going to control the race, especially since they put this pine tar down. Everybody's hitting the corner so hard. So if I can narrow it up about a cart leak, I don't think anybody will be able to pass.
Talk to me about the progression of the racetrack, because it was pretty hot yesterday. It's still hot today, but the cloud cover's out. Has it changed at all from yesterday?
The track doesn't have as much grip. It's a little slick, but I think once the carts get out there more and more, it's going to go back to how it was yesterday.
Okay, so when you're dealing with that, when the kart's pretty slick and you have kind of like that rhino liner out there where it hooks the go-kart, is it tough to navigate?
Sometimes, I mean, the cart can do one thing one lap, and then the next it'll do something else. We just have to be consistent and do those small adjustments on the carts to gain that half a tenth that we really need.
Thanks, Christian.
Thank you.
It's a good point there from Christian Miles. It's kind of the intel that I've heard from a couple of drivers where, I mean, if you're dealing with a freer go-kart, it's normally better around this place, but it can be tough to if you're free entering the corner and all of a sudden it kind of hooks your go-kart around. So I'll be curious to see how they kind of deal with it all, because, again, we're starting an hour earlier. Everything's pushed forward an hour, so this is about as early of a session as we're going to get all year long, and for these drivers, the earliest session they've been out on the racetrack all weekend long. So, again, their kart might feel good this morning, and it might not feel good 2 hours from now.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm going to talk here to Eli Warren. Eli, it's been a quiet weekend for you. What do you feel like you've been tough inside of the top 10?
We've just been struggling with the chassis the whole weekend. We keep on going on two wheels. We keep on hopping. We just can't get out of the back section at all. We've been rubbing the whole weekend. We've changed pretty much everything we can on the cart. Nothing seems to work. So I liked when it was cold this morning, a tiny bit wet. I'm hoping it rains. It might not. But we need the track to have as little grip as possible. But everyone's going to put on stickers, so that's probably not going to go our way. But we're starting 18th, so anything's possible. But we just really need to put together the setup, and hopefully we can go forward in the race.
There you go. Best of luck, Eli.
Thank you.
We'll head back onto the...
Yeah, Mini Swifts now out onto the racetrack. They've already been out there for about 2.5 minutes, so they've put some flyers down. No one quicker than the 136 of Holden Myers to get this warm-up session underway. Parker Ives, P2. I know you and I had a chance to talk to him yesterday, Caleb, and he felt confident. I mean, he's a driver that always is just looking for more. Even if he's really fast, he thinks he can go faster. And while the results yesterday maybe didn't show that he was up there towards the front, I mean, that final heat race to me sums up Parker Ives' day. Has the pace. If he can just get through some of the drivers that are in front of him after a bad qualifying from Parker, that's going to be the key for the Ryan Perry Motorsports machine. I know he's working with Aiden Levy really hard. And again, Parker's a driver that we can always expect towards the front of the field. P2 so far in that warm-up session. How about it for Jaden Francisco? Jaden Francisco, P3. He's been working at it all weekend long himself, and Liam Francisco in the micro class as well. So, again, Jaden doing a really good job here. Liam Nashawati now the first one to get into the 41-second bracket, and Liam has been quick all weekend long. I know he made a mistake in that final heat race, but he's still a driver that I think we'll expect to see towards the front. He will be starting towards the front of the grid here come main event time.
Last couple of laps here in the morning warm-up for your mini Swift drivers. We're going to talk to all of them as well when they work their way. We haven't had the chance to give them all too much love here this weekend, but I mean, we're excited to talk to them, right? We talked to X30 Jr a little bit throughout the weekend, Parker Ives, we talked to him last night, and these kids, they've been going back and forth all year long, it seems like, Alex, and you know, they're trying to get themselves into that winning mentality before moving up into the full-size go-karts here next year.
Yeah, I mean, this mini Swift class, Xander and I were talking about it up in the booth yesterday, where it's not until you get to senior where you really have that third, at most, that fourth year in one class where you really get a chance to dial everything in. And in micro and mini, usually it's sometimes one and done, or in micro, sometimes it's one and done, you go to mini, and the mini 2 years, 3 max, and then you go to the junior class where you spend maybe 2 years there, and then you go to senior where everything kind of stalls out, right? There's nowhere to go unless you go to shifter. So again, that's where all of a sudden you start to see that progression. So for these mini drivers, we joked around, you know, we have some veterans in the class, and it's really just year 2 for Macha and Ives.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about year 2, right? And I think it's year 10 for them since they were born. But I'm starting to see some of the comments come in looking very windy. It is. If you guys didn't already notice, USPKS took those flags down. So that was, I would say, one of the things that we saw yesterday. You're not going to see too much of the wind, but yes, it is very, very windy. I feel like if you're on the main straightaway, you're going to have a lot of headwind. So that's going to, I guess, provide a little bit more of a draft, Alex, if you want to dive deeper into that. Yeah, I mean, I know standing here on the scales, my hair is completely lost its mind right now, and I won't be able to save it probably today, but it's a headwind for sure on that back straightaway. And so for classes like mini, like micro, the lower speed classes in particular, but for every class, any chance you have a headwind, like you mentioned, the draft is a bigger factor. It's going to create a bit of a side wind, I guess you could say, entering turn number 1, so we'll see if that plays a factor at all. What it does is create a tail as well. Yeah, your mini Swift drivers now working their way into the pits. We'll see if we can catch up with a few of them. Liam Nachawati was the driver qualified on the pole position in this class, and again, he was falling under fire throughout it. I would say more than anybody. And, you know, everybody was trying to take that top spot away from Liam, and we'll talk to him as well. Work our way back here, talk to Enzo a little bit as well. First of all, Enzo, how was that morning session for you? First of all, summarize your weekend for me. How's it been up to this point?
It's been a good weekend. I mean, we won all 3 heats, so I'm really confident going into the final.
How was the racetrack this morning?
It was pretty decent. It didn't have much grip as it did yesterday, but I think it'll get up to grip in the final.
Well, best of luck, Enzo.
Thank you.
There you guys have it from Enzo Di Gennaro. We'll talk to a couple more as well. Why don't we work our way into the scales here, Alex? We'll try and stay out of the way as much as possible here as well. But more to talk to here. I'm actually going to cut through here and talk to 1, 2, 3. Liam, I had to shimmy through the field to get to you, but how was obviously a good qualifying for you, but how's your weekend been? How did the heat races go for you?
Heat 1, we didn't really have the pace that we needed, just a little bit too many mistakes. And Heat 2 had a lot of problems before the race even started. And Heat 3 was good. It's just Enzo got under me in the exit of turn 5 on the last lap and couldn't get him back up.
We asked Enzo the same question. The racetrack, we expected it to change a little bit. How was it for you out there this morning?
Obviously, a lot less grip than there was yesterday. The track was a lot more grippy yesterday in the final heat race. The setup, we tried to tune to the track conditions, but I think my setup was good and the track is okay.
Well, best of luck for the main event.
Thank you.
Move on with a couple more as well here, Alex. But I mean, these young kids, you look at sponsors over here for Cade Wolf that usually see Rotor sponsorships on NASCARs, but Cade Wolf out of Mooresville, North Carolina, with the Timmy Tech Kart. He's here in the scales as well, but more karts out on the racetrack as this one continues, Alex. But I mean, these kids are very well spoken, right? It seems like they've had a little bit of media training.
Yeah, it seems like it. These kids are they're killing it on the interviews, so that's awesome. We'll have to keep doing a lot of these micro mini interviews throughout the year, and again, we'll definitely get them before and after the main events if possible. So again, we have a really tight field here in Mini Swift, Caleb. Out onto the racetrack now, the X30 Juniors, and these drivers, year in, year out, race in, race out, put on an absolute show for us, and a lot of them are doing double duty. We got the KAs and X30s, most of them doing both. Vanchev and Theo Salamao are the two drivers that I think put on the biggest show for us in X30 Junior, but you can't forget about the likes of Ashton Woon and others in this class. They're going to be looking to make some noise in this main event.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do, right? I mean, Ashton had a wonderful over-under move yesterday that I think was one of the best moves of the weekend. If you want to have a competition for it, Alex, Ashton Woon had one of the best ones, as well as Salamao and Vanchev. You saw they got into it a little bit yesterday. We went into Salamao's tent. Couldn't speak to him because he was already gone. And these kids are straight to business, right? They come to the racetrack,
light work.
They get into it, and they're out of here, right? They just come for what they need to do, and then they get out.
I guess when you're that fast, you don't got to do a whole lot of work at the end of the day. So.
Exactly, right? And we're actually talking about it as well. Nobody was driving the first corner like Theo Salamao, and he was saying because this racetrack reminds him a lot of his home track back in Brazil.
Yeah, I know you and I were down there at turn one watching Theo's hands, his approach to turn one, and it was just slightly different than the rest of the field. He was able to actually brake just that little bit later, use the rotation on entry, and wait for that Rhino liner, use the left side tires to hook the go-kart in, where a couple other drivers that we were watching were braking a little bit early, a little bit timid on the go-kart, and I feel like it was costing them a couple of tenths on entry there, and that's why Theo was able to get some walkaway races throughout both KA and X30. It's been a couple minutes now here for our X30 Juniors, and it's no surprise to see Theo Salamao and Alexander Vanchev top of the board, a 38.974 versus a 39 flat. Edward Kennedy on board the Energy Machine in third. And I got to say, Caleb, we've had a chance to walk through that Energy 10 a couple of times, and they've been struggling to say the least, but I feel like a lot of it because they have too much grip. On mornings like today, where the breeze is out, the sun isn't, the clouds are covering it, this could be what Energy Corsa Americas was needing to get that last bit of pace.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Caden McQueen, obviously, he got himself into trouble in Heat 1, Heat 2, and then Heat 3. That pace came back, and he made passing look easy. So you would assume that the pace was back there for Energy. The pace was definitely there in that third heat race. And for Kennedy as well, he's been getting himself into the mix. KA Junior as well. He had a really, really good recovery in KA Junior yesterday for the third and final heat race. So he put himself in a really good position towards the end of it to bounce back. And again, damage limitation for Edward. And X30 Junior, I'm not gonna lie, we've seen so much racing this weekend, Alex, that it's hard to keep. But it seemed like he's been confident. And I don't think, to me, from what I have seen from Kennedy so far this weekend, he hasn't seemed uncomfortable on this racetrack.
Yeah, other drivers to be Nate fourth here, warm-up. He put on a pretty good show for us in that third round heat. I know he was defending maybe a little bit, but ended up working out for the national driver, making his debut for that team. Nate Dupuis, I mean, I know the joke that you and I had, Caleb, with ZCD is, you know, Nate super fast on the Friday and the Saturday, got to put it together on the Sunday, and I know Nate really wants to go out there and get that national race victory here in X30.
Yeah, he definitely wants to get something out of it here later on today. Let's talk to a couple of drivers. We'll signal over to Jerry. I'm going to talk over here to Alex Vanchev, actually. Alex, we talked a little bit on the grid yesterday. How'd the day for you go on Saturday?
Struggled a little bit, like not my best day, but I struggled a little bit with engine and KA, and X30 just couldn't get the pace down. But I think we found it in warm-up in both KA and X30, and yeah, we just go for the race.
And it seems like this X30 field has been pretty close together, right? Ashton's been up there, Theo's been up there. What do you need to do to stay in front of them?
I think I just need to drive very consistently, very fast, and I know my team will give me a very good package to contend with.
There you go. Best of luck, Alex.
Thank you.
One more over here, Jerry. We're going to talk to Ashton Moon, who's actually just debriefing a little bit after the session. We'll slide in here. Ashton, talk about that move around the outside in turn 11. How'd you get that done?
I committed, and I saw him slow down a bit, so I just committed, and I went around the outside.
I know it's your second race in X30 Junior. Have you finally started to get kind of comfortable here?
Yeah, I'm starting to get comfortable. I'm pretty fast, so I'm starting to get comfortable, and I think I can win a race soon.
Well, there you go. Best of luck.
Thank you.
One more here. We're going to move back to Alex, who's standing by with Nathan Dupuis here as well.
Yeah, we get that camera pointed up here. All right, hello. All right, Nate. It's been a good weekend for you thus far. I know you were at the tent with me when we were talking with Zach about putting it all together on the Sunday main events. What's it going to take for you to go out there and win?
I think I just need to figure out my driving, just probably drive a little cleaner, a little smoother, more consistent. Probably just push the limit a little bit more. Was playing it safe yesterday, trying to keep the cart in one piece. Just, yeah, finding the little bit of more pace that we need just so we can hang those guys.
There were a couple of races yesterday where I noticed you were defending early. Was it because you guys weren't able to fire off as fast as everybody else?
Yeah, we went a little bit lower on tire pressure, try to get that late race pace because we knew Salamau and Venchev, they would start scrapping a little bit, so we were hoping that we could get in our fast laps when they were scrapping to maximize our battling time with them.
Last thing here, from what you learned in that heat race with your late race pace, we have a long main event today. You think you got it towards the end of the race?
Yeah, I think so. If we continue the low tire pressures and I just make sure I don't get wore out, which I don't really get wore out a lot. I just gotta make sure I stay consistent, make sure I don't do any dumb stuff at the beginning of the race, keep it clean, no penalties. I got a lot of those yesterday. Yeah, so just keeping it clean, keeping the cart one piece, no kerfuffling. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Nate.
Thank you.
All right, I think word of the day, kerfuffle from Nate Dogg there. That's a good one. So, yeah, Nate Dupuis, I think it's a good game plan. No kerfuffling and no penalties, and that's how you go out there and get a win in X30 Junior.
Yeah, I think that's important, right? We also caught up with Paulie Massimino and Ryan Norberg as well before their X30 main event. They're going to share the front row, and here's what they had to say at the end of Saturday.
For the weekend so far for you, kind of describe how it's been.
It's been good. I mean, for us, it's not been super difficult. Like, I wouldn't say super difficult. We're trying a lot. The one problem, you know, whenever you're out front the whole time is that it's really hard to change anything because you're kind of, you know, in a tough spot. You know, if you change something, go slower, you know, you've got something that's fast. So right now, I think in that last heat, we kind of just got caught out in the fact that we changed with the track. And yeah, it just kind of hurt us, I think, a little bit there at the end. But we're still quick. We get off the line really well, and I think we just got to try to manage that gap a little better next time.
Yeah, I mean, weekend's been going pretty good so far. Not Wednesday, sorry. Thursday and Friday, most of Friday, we've been struggling with pace. We were pretty far off. I think we were like 6/10 off at best in the X30, and I think we were 4 at best off in K. So we did a lot of work, changed a lot of things, tried a lot of different things, and everything we've been seeming to do is starting to work a little bit more and more every time we go out. Obviously, the pace of today has been really good. Honestly, I think the way the grouping was, I think our group, there's a lot more mistakes happening in our group to bring a lot more dirt on the track. So it's a lot harder to get more than, you know, a few clean laps. Then yeah, next 30, we're just, you know, obviously trying to chase Ryan. Felt like that last heat was really good progression, and we're gonna keep working at it.
They put on a show for us, Caleb, in heat number 3 because the first 2 heat races, it looked a little easy for Ryan. And I know Ryan in that interview kind of said, you know, it wasn't a whole lot of work, and then you had to kind of backtrack and say, you know, it's still a lot of work no matter whether you're quick or not. But for Ryan, it looked a little easy for him. We joked around with him throughout that interview, Caleb, of, you know, were you trying at all? Were you pushing the tire? He said, yeah, I'm always pushing. Every race, no matter if it's a heat race, a qualifying, or a main, he's pushing the tire 10/10. So I think it's a good sign for Paulie and the BJR crew that, okay, Ryan was pushing, and you're actually faster in heat number 3. So again, long main events today, 25 laps. And so for Paulie and Ryan, that's going to be the battle. And I think the biggest thing is, can Frankie find that extra 10th to go out there and chase the top 2?
Yeah, we'll see. He's been struggling with it, right? I talked to him a whole lot yesterday. He was talking about the setup changes they were looking to make. They were talking about, just a little bit of differences as well that they needed to get themselves further up the field. But we'll see if we can talk to a couple more. A couple of our Masters drivers as well. Renato Yatter-David had a good day. He's shaking his hand. I honestly, I would like to say you had a choice, but I want to talk one question. We'll make engine change for you yesterday. What was the miss with that engine?
My engine is broken yesterday, and I needed a change. Let's see today.
There you go. Best luck. That was it. It wasn't that bad. There you go. It wasn't that bad. Martin, you've been chasing the Orsilon machine ahead of you. It seemed like all day yesterday, but the last time we talked, you felt.
Yeah, I feel really good. Yeah, we made some changes tonight. This morning, so we got in 25 laps.
There you go. Best of luck, Martin. We're going to way back here, Alex. I know we're tapping our range a little bit as we work further back, but, I mean, he was very busy on the carburetor yesterday, and his engine broke, like you heard there. So Martin's also been kind of looking for it, so we'll see what we can do, right? But those two have been trading blows, it seems like, all weekend long.
Yeah, it'll be fun because Renato, if there's ever a question from the drivers of how much you can race around here and pass, I think Yatter-David put that to bed. He charged through this KA Masters field like butter. And so for the Orsilon driver, I mean, again, just one of the many Orsilon drivers this weekend that had a lot of success on Friday and Saturday. Let's see if they can put it together on Sunday. But for Martin Stone, he had some really strong pace in that third heat race when the tires were at its worst throughout the weekend. And so for a long main, it looks decent for the RPG driver there. If, again, if the tires start to wear throughout that long main and he feels comfortable, lap 20 through 25 to go out there and get it done. So those two are quick. Can't forget about Scott Falcone always being quick this weekend. Put on a show for us throughout all 3 heats as well.
Yeah, as well as a couple more, right? We've talked about Skitchy so far this weekend. Usually on the shifter side of things, moved to single speed this weekend, and he got himself a P3 finish after, the bad luck he had in heat race number 1 with the bent axle.
Yeah, and that axle was destroyed there in that heat. But on the racetrack, our X30 Pros, the final warm-up of the morning. We've only done a couple of laps now. We're on lap number 2 of this warm-up session. And so far, it's Davin Roberts topping the board there, the 39.8. How about it for the rookie? I know I mentioned on the broadcast yesterday, I joked around with him on the grid. I know Dalton Haynes as well, because Davin had these high hopes for himself in X30 Pro, and to me, he has exceeded expectations on a rookie weekend. But for him, he wants to go out there and do more and more and more, and go out there and fight for wins and podiums on his first event. And I think he has a chance to do so this weekend with the pace he's shown.
Yeah, for sure. And you talk about a couple of others, right? Davin, I mean, we talked about it, right? The last time that Ryan Norberg raced here was 12 years ago. Davin Roberts would have been a year old that time. And I remember we were joking around with Ryan yesterday, right? And we told him that, and he was like, man, I've been doing this for too long. I'm getting old, right? Joking around. But he's still at the top of his game. And I told him, and I was like,
his first reaction was, are you serious? and then he was like, yeah, I'm getting a little bit too old for this, I guess. But clearly hitting his prime, I'd say, Ryan.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you talk about a guy like that, right? And it's kind of unfair for him to get the same question, like, when are you going to hang it up? When are you going to hang it up? Because he's still at the top of his game. You talk about what he's done with his academy.
He's like LeBron.
There you go. How will this affect Ryan Norberg's legacy? Nobody knows. Enough of that. A guy who's looking to change that here this weekend. It's been all about Ryan, but Paulie, we must say yesterday, found some pace, and they were trading fast lap after fast lap. We heard from Ryan, he was giving it his all in the last couple laps because Paulie Massimino definitely found something overnight, and he was closing in rapidly.
Yeah, they were working at it. I mean, Paulie said throughout the interview we had with him last night and just talking at the tent with him, he said, listen, I know you asked him, what went into the setup changes. He said, not a whole lot. We needed to find pace, and he said, listen, the worst that could have happened is I started third for this main event if I had a bad finish. So they had nothing to lose for heat number 3. They threw a couple things at it, and he said, listen, it stuck, right? So now, learning and knowing what they learned from that third heat race, I wonder how much of it can be applied this morning. It's a completely different racetrack. No sun out right now, cloud cover. And this main event for the X30 Pros is going to be about 5.5 hours earlier than the main yesterday, so it's a little bit more comparable to the end of heat number 1, in which we saw Ryan kind of walk the field a little bit. So I'd be curious to see how much it translates from what we saw last night.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do. And so far, I mean, you look at the gaps in time, a 38.523 for Paulie and a 38.534 for Norberg. So their differences are about 100th of a second here, Alex. And you see the margins. It was just like that. They were both in 38.4s, which I think was some of the quickest laps that we saw yesterday.
38.4 was what we saw in Heat 3 and qualifying. So that it goes to show you a couple things, right? Because I asked Ryan, why is that? And he said, listen, as much as the left side's grain throughout the heats, the laps aren't long enough, and you're not putting enough laps on your tires to where it really makes all that much of a difference, right? And he says, listen, these MGs can take a whole lot, and so after the first couple of laps, they fall, maybe a tenth and they plateau. So they were running the same laps they ran in qualifying in heat number 3, and that's why Ryan said, listen, I was pushing. A 38.4 is fast. A 38.5 this morning in warm-up so far, it goes to show you that maybe the track hasn't changed all that much. These guys are just that good.
Yeah, for sure. And you talk about a couple of others working their way up there. Caden McQueen, I mean, he has a lot of work to do today, Alex. We talked about that. Finnegan Bailiff as well. For being out of the X30 seat for quite some time, I think longer than anybody else in this field, he's had really, really good pace. That 325 Brellart machine, I mean, they tried a different setup in heat race number 3. Talked to Sean, and when he came in, he joked around and looked at me. He was like, well, that didn't work. So they went back to what they knew, right? But again, it's going to be a little different today. We talked about the changing conditions and whatnot. So we'll see what Finnegan can do. But for him, he said the biggest adjustment after spending a year in KA, the last time he raced X30, I believe, was down in Homestead for the Winter Series at the start of 24. And again, his transition over to 2025, it was just kind of getting used to the speed, right? Getting up to grips with it and getting up to grips with the tire as well, which changed a little bit since the last time he ran it. So we'll see Jacob Kolar into the scales here as well. And we'll talk to him as a couple of more work their way in. Go here and butt in, talk to a couple of them. Make sure they stop, because I really do not, I would like to not get run over before we went live here later on today. We are already racing, so we'll make this as quick as possible. We'll talk to Ryan here. You're fresh out of the go-kart. How was the racetrack this morning?
What?
How was the racetrack this morning?
It's good.
And
the morning is wet.
Well, there you go, right? I feel like we're back at a green point on the racetrack, but you talked about the last heat race a little bit with us yesterday. What are you guys looking to change? Or you're obviously not going to give me too much, but how are you looking to deal with the changing conditions?
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you much at all. We're just trying to keep working on the kart, making it better. I mean, it's just, warm up, we tried some stuff, so go and analyze it here in a sec.
There you go. Best of luck. He works his way through, and we'll talk to a couple of more here as well, Alex. The grid's starting to fill up. Davin Roberts, he's working his way in, but a very, very impressive rookie, it must be said. I'm going to work my way back here with Finnegan Bailiff. Finn, first of all, welcome back to the X30 field. Last year, we joked around a little bit talking about your retirement, but then you got that first win in Orlando, and they just kept coming. How are you feeling at the start of the X30 season?
Yeah, pretty.
A little bit as well. Let's not hold up the line all too much. What's been the biggest adjustment back to this X30 field for you this year?
Just getting used to the driving style of the X30. You kind of have to be a little easier on the throttle, and the tires are a bit different, so you can't do the same thing you can do in the KA, and it's a little bit more tiring than the KA.
I bet it is. I can see you're a little bit out of breath here this morning. We'll let you work your way through as well, but there you guys have it from Finnegan Bailiff.
Well, as the rest of the X30 Pros roll through the scales here, Caleb, maybe we can grab one more, two more. I know we're getting ready to go ready racing, so obviously got to have the anthem first, but let's see if we can grab maybe one or two more drivers. Actually, I would love to grab a couple more drivers here, but nonetheless, Caleb, we're going to have a great day today here. X30 Pro just finished up, all rolling through the scales, almost done here in the scale line. And Microsoft is already on the grid.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the morning show. We're ready racing from here on out. For those of you here in the paddock, please rise and remove your hats for the playing of our national anthem.
You need it? We got it. At Kart Eat Parts, we are your complete online aftermarket kart part superstore. From chains to bearings to bumpers and components, we've got it in stock and ready to ship straight to your door from our base in Ontario, Canada. Check us out online at karteparts.ca.
Paulie Massimino wins in KA. Paulie Massimino is a winner in OKN Stars.
Take your driving to the next level with one-on-one coaching from 2024 OKN Stars champion Paulie Massimino. Car rental options are available if you'd like to keep yours at home, and drivers in all classes are welcome, from Briggs 206 to Mini to KA100 and X30. With in-depth data analysis, onboard video footage review, and lead follow on-track sessions, each private coaching session will see you end as a more complete driver than when you started. Book your coaching session now.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly.
We are ready. It's time to go racing here from Daytona International Speedway, the inaugural U.S. Pro Kart Series Daytona Super GP, kicking things off with Micro Swift. 34 drivers deep here this weekend, and here's a quick look at how they'll line up for this 22-lap main event. Ready racing throughout the entirety of the rest of the day, folks. Main events on deck, of course, and it'll be 25 for the Pro Division, X30 Pro Senior lined up at the end, but they're going to run one after another. Back-to-back action, kicking things off with the youngest superstars. It will not happen on the first try by, so we will have to send them around again and take a look at it. It does give us a moment, of course, to bring you up to speed with the proper look at the starting lineup. How about the weekend so far for Marcelo Flores on that J. Howard Driver Development, Kart Republic, and Lennox